Welcome to another episode of the Old Paratrooper podcast. But before we get started, I want to talk to you about our sponsors, Veterans for Veterans. If you left the military after 1987 and your hearing's taken a knock from your time in the services, click the link in this video. No win, no fee. See if you're eligible.
Why didn't they grab hold of a guy who was strapped with a suicide vest? Well, I can tell you that. Because you're going to get blown to fucking smithereens, so you're better off putting some wasps in him and taking cover. It's absolute fucking bullshit. What has always got me about this whole shit? We're fighting by a set of rules against enemies that have no rules. That's not fair. That's like you boxing with your hands tied behind your back. Ridiculous. I've got the belly, I've got the wings. I've earned a place where legends came before me and legends came after me.
Well, good morning and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Old Paratrooper podcast. And it is my great pleasure to introduce someone that I used to work with many, many moons ago. He is a Parachute Regiment of Falklands veteran. He is a former firefighter of 19 years and a close protection operator, Middle East, all over the Middle East. And that's where we work together. It is John Hunter. How you doing, John?
Hey, Chris, you're right. Eventually, I've got here. Highly delighted to be on here, considering I've watched your podcast grow and grow. And man, you've had some proper tier one, incredible men on there. So I would start and just tell you, I'm just an ordinary bloke, me, who probably by making what some might say were stupid decisions, I've managed to walk away from everything hardly scratched. So I'm just a normal bloke, and I realise that I come into this, I'm kind of standing on the shoulders of giants there. God.
That's very humble of you, John. But when the viewers and the followers hear about your career, I think their opinion might be slightly different.
Well, and that would be fine, but I didn't want to come from a place of like I'm some like big head and braggart, because that ain't me. I've just managed to do all right for myself, I think. So
Well, how I like to do them. You've seen some of the podcasts.
Yeah.
Is I start at the beginning, mate.
Yeah.
I just start at the beginning where you grew up.
Right,
kind of what led you down the path.
Right. So grew up in Sheffield, place called Mearsbrook. And so I was born, I'll just say, mid-50s. And obviously the Windrush generation. So most of my friendship group, growing up and at school, were all children of the Windrush people, stonemasons. I had a great childhood. Loving parents, Chris. I couldn't find one fault with my parents. They were just fantastic. Dad would take us out, show his wildlife, nature, all this sort of thing. However, I was born a little sick boy. Bullied at school, not only by the teachers, but by other people. And then one day, as I was getting kicked around a park, I discovered something within me and just on my arm's reach. And the kid who were bullying me and kicking me didn't notice that I picked this quite large branch up and hit him upside his jaw. And I started cracking him, and I thought, he's not fighting back. So from then, there was a bit of a shift in me. I would never be a bully. I still, as you, despise bullying. Bullies, no. They're subhuman. If you think you can get your kicks from trying to make somebody feel shit, then you'll get that way, but watch it one day. So anyway, school were normal. I believe I was the only child from Newfield School who was caned in front of the whole of the school for the crime of having a condom. Now
At
then,
what age? What age is that?
now then, yeah. So I'd be about probably, I don't know, 10, 11, something like that, 12 probably. Yeah, caned for having a condom. How far? So I robbed it, obviously, I nicked it from my dad. I hope my mother don't watch it. But yeah, and I keep looking back at little things like that and thought, nowadays, a kid would be congratulated, probably get some house points or something from it. But yeah, so I was caned in front of the old school, and that taught me something. That taught me a lot. Be a bit more clever about what you do. So I didn't pass me 11 plus, no GCSEs, whatever they call. I got nothing like that. So on my 15th birthday, or thereabouts, Easter, I left school. And that was it. I'm into the big wide world. And I went to work for a butcher at first. Incredible man. What a shooter. He showed me everything perfectly. And I remember my first wage was £7 a week. And I thought, oh, mate, I felt like Elon Musk probably does now, you know. I was just wealthy, man. £7. And so anyway, so I got all my training done, my apprenticeship done, and then I went to work for another butcher at Attercliffe. Now, it's funny because this story would involve one of your former guests. So the guy I'm just going to mention here, he left school on the same day as me. We were the same age, I think. And a guy by the name of Des Powell. I don't know if you've heard of him. Of course you have. So, yeah. So me and Des worked together at this butcher's, and it were great. And we'd knock about together. We're good at football match. Had our first tattoos done together. And we'd have been 15 and a half, 16, but it were fine. And so to kind of spring forward in time, so we lost contact because that's what you do. You're growing up, you're doing other things. And so I end up rocking up at Depot Para, and who do I see? It's Des Powell, who just completed his training, so he'd be 1 or 2 recruit platoons in front of me. Now, I was 441 platoon. Anyway, back to that. So I'm back. I've done the butchering, decided I can make more money. I labour on building sites. I worked in a foundry. What a horrendous experience that were, the noise, the fumes and everything. And so I kept moving on, rather like a piece of driftwood, I think. I just went here, I went there, and always inside me, I thought there has to be something more for me to do. There's got to be something for me to do. And so how I ended up deciding to join the parachute regiment. Well, it all started that I actually joined the Royal Marines. CPC RM Linston in Devon, yes. And I were fucking shite. I were crap. I went into that totally unprepared, and I am a little bit red in the cheeks. But I'll tell you, this is my life. Mate, I went in totally unprepared, absolutely unprepared, and I didn't get what I wanted out of it, and quite clearly they didn't get what they wanted out of it. So I signed myself off. However, that's quite handy because I forget if I were there 4 or 5 months, 6 months, something like that. So I still get a tiny little pension from them as well to top up my military pension, my old age pension, and obviously my fire service pension. And yeah, I went into it blind, stupidly blind, but it turned out that it was all for the good. So I came back to Sheffield, and I'm drifting round. I'm just thinking, well, fucking loser, aren't you? And then I started having talks with myself, Chris, and I went, no, the fact is, you've not prepared for this. So this one day I'm in town. It'd be a Friday. And I'm just at the bottom of the high street, and I saw this vision in front of me. And it was this dude, mate, beret on, wings on the shirt, all turn-ups. He just looked $1 million. And I looked at this guy walking down the street with purpose. This was a well put together guy, and I thought, I want to be like you. So I quickly chased up to him, and I asked him a few questions. He said, look, if you're right interested, I'll be in on Monday. He says, come and see me. And that began my journey. And he just said to me, look, it ain't going to be fucking easy, this kid. He says, you've got to have heart and everything. He says, so before you get a start date, he said, I need you to get yourself out and get your fitness up to as much scratch as you can. So I did. Out in the hills in Derbyshire, and God bless my dad. My dad were awesome, right? So I'm running with a pack on, with some sandbags in it, because the guy gave me a proper good, thorough briefing. Keep increasing your weight, sort of thing, you know. Keep the intensity up. Just keep doing it. My old man had got a fucking a day sack on his bike. He was doing exactly the same. So my dad pushed me harder, probably, than I'd pushed myself. You know, when I thought I can't do another rotation of this, another lap of this, my dad were on me. But my dad was so lovely, warm and gentle. You wanted to perform for my dad. So I've still got my joining book. It's no bigger than a fag packet. It's just 2 pages. So, fuck, this is going to be embarrassing here. So anyway, I sign my attestation, get sworn in, everything like that. And I'm given the £5, which was the equivalent to the Queen's shilling, I believe. A £5 for whatever. And the note on the joining instructions, you had to bring, like, I think it was 1 pair of underpants, 2 pairs of socks, or with 2 pair of underpants, 1 pair of socks. It was so basic. And £5 for any incidental expenses. So I get on the train and I hear the immortal words, Aldershot, this is Aldershot. And I'm on the train and I can see that probably everybody on that train was some kind of doing something like I was going to attempt. And I looked round the face and I thought, fucking hell, I hope I don't look that scared. So we get on the fucking wagon. So we get on the 400 and we drive. We're in Browning Barracks. Now here's my confession. It was the 70s. I have got a pair of green Oxford bags on, and I'm talking lime green, a pair of platform-soled fucking shoes, and a Second World War British pilot's coat. You know, the big sheepskin?
Right. Yeah.
So the very first or the second person from the parachute regiment I met was the full screw who was in charge of our little section, a guy called Mick Butler, ex-1 para. What a shot that man was. That man, well, I can still pick any weapon system up, and I've got Mick Butler still in my head. Make sure you clear it, all this business. So I woke up to him, he's got a clipboard, and he looks up at me like this, and then he looks down and he goes, fucking hell. And looks at me again, he went, well, your name's not on the list, because quite clearly it must be fucking Biggles. Where have you parked the hurricane? Well, I'm about this big now. I'm fucking Mr. Tiny. He said, right, we're going to go through some admin. And there were another 4 or 5 guys stood at the side who were dressed appropriately for the 70s, but not appropriately for Browning Barracks. And so he says, you just wait there. So he says, right, he says, have you got any money on you? So I thought, oh, fucking hell, he's like stiffing me for this. So I says, well, yeah, Corporal, I said, I've got £10. He went, good, you'll need it in a bit. So I'm thinking, fucking hell, I'm going to have to buy him a drink. No. He he took us in his own car straight down Aldershot, where every man put a pair of desert wellies, pair of Wrangler jeans, the appropriate Gym Flex sweatshirt, and the ubiquitous flying jacket. So we've got all this. We haven't even been issued anything from stores as yet. But Mick got us right. He says, you go out now and you look, because you've got 2 uniforms to wear. He says, you've got your uniform, but you've got your going out uniform, and that's what you'll wear. I lost that habit a long time ago. For the whole lot, it cost me a £5. Can you imagine, like modern day? But anyway, yeah, so joined 441 platoon. Our platoon, now then. Shit, what's his name? David Parker. Ex-1 para. He was a lieutenant at the time. He was murdered in Africa. He was running a game reserve. Pushed his wife. No, it's not Parker. Parkinson, sorry. David Parkinson. He was the guy that shoved his wife in the safe room, and then they accident.
No way.
Lovely guy. But you could see really well educated, and he wasn't very good at swearing. Well, he thought it was a really bad swear word. When he did get angry, as they always do at you, right? He said things like chuffing. And fucking hell, man, come on, swear properly. But from that public school upbringing, but absolutely great. He 441 platoon commander, we're a top man. Plenty of advice. And we had some really good full screws. And our platoon sergeant at the time, a man, I'll always carry this man here. His name was Sean Lucy. God rest his soul. Red hair, former Guards independent para. And oh my God, when he fucking shouted you, God took notice. Absolutely. What a superb man. He was like whip thin but made of cables. And I just admired him. Again, you see men like that. I want to be like that man. That's what I want. He was just airborne, absolutely superb. So training, yeah. I know there's a lot of talk now about was it harder or easier. I think we actually discussed it on the phone. Is it harder or easier? I think it was harder, but hear me out. It was harder for us because technology hadn't moved on. So you're running in a pair of boots DMS, which were actually, I believe, made of compressed cardboard. That's why they fell apart when we were down south. So I would say it was harder because there wasn't a lot known about diet and nutrition, because as far as scoff were concerned, get as much down your neck as you can because you don't know when your next meal's coming. And pints of hot tea with 2 or 3 sugars in it. And like, I look back and I think, oh, God, you know, so I would say it was harder because there's now all the information you need if you need to prepare for something, but you've got to have the head, you've got to have the heart, and you've got to have soul in the game. So it's as hard now, but I do think we had it slightly more difficult.
I'd have to agree with that. I would agree with that.
You know, uniforms changed, that sort of thing. I mean, Christ, man, we had 58 pattern webbing, and it was absolutely grand. Absolutely grand. Great for your manipulation skills, you know, for your mag pouches, open and close them, don't even need to look kind of thing. But when it rained, it was like, stiff as a board. It was like you'd stuck something outside the top end of the Arctic Circle. Everything was just stiff. But that's what we did. And obviously, loads and loads of weapon training, loads of beastings in the gym. We had a PTI. Now, I can't remember this guy's name, but I know a few bits about him. He used to moonlight as a doorman in Farnborough, and he was a big old unit. Back in the day when you didn't see big old units, he'd got the physique of a bodybuilder and the stamina of a mountain goat. So on our very first tab, our first 10-miler, so we're going out up by the canal, right? And he's got a golden Labrador jacked on him. Oh dear me, he was fucking angry, and with no more to do, Chris, he picked the dog up, slung it on top of his Bergen, and did the 10-miler with that. And like we're all thinking as we come up, obviously we've got Screws and Sean Lucy coming up, and he said, if he can do it with a dog weight on him, you better do it. So, and I enjoyed the training. I found it extremely difficult, because you're not only bombarded with facts, figures, how to manipulate your hands, and your weapons and all this business, checking all that knowledge in. You're also getting the parachute regiment history hammered into you. You've got to know it, because that was part of passing off the square. You had to know certain things about the para-reg.
Yeah.
I think it's superb, and I'm pretty sure they still do it nowadays.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
It's, the glue that binds. So we go on P Company. Fucking hell, what a lick. But I passed it. I passed it first time. I'm a bit choked about saying this. I so wanted to be there, to be part of it, to become these men that I'm looking round and fucking admiring. Seeing these guys driven, focused and everything. I wanted that. And that probably, I think, just gave me a little bit more of an edge to go for it, because I'd got nothing behind me, Chris. Yes, there was a home and everything, but I'd got nothing behind me, and I realised here I was joining something good. I was joining something right and proper, and I'd worked hard for it. I know on the 10-miler on P Company, I was just behind the middle, and I'm on the outside, and I could feel his presence, and Sean Lucy came tabbing up for me. He got this wild red hair, sweat all streaming down his face, and he said these words to me: pick yourself up now. I want you to pass out with my platoon. You're one of mine, and you'll do it. And that kind of gave me that energy boost, that thing. He got faith in me. Now, whether or not he'd really got faith in me, I had faith from what he said to me. And I managed to pass first time. And I was a bit surprised, I must admit. I thought I'd done all right with it. Tunisia was no problem. I've never had a fear of heights. I've never had a fear of confined spaces. And obviously, as a coming to the fire service, that sort of... Anyway, so we do the final exercise as 441 platoon. And the final exercise was... weather were brutal. It rained and it snowed. Guys were going down with trench foot, frost nip. I was one of the lucky ones. I had trench foot and a little bit of frost nip. But then, again, I'd listened to what they said. When you get a chance, when your feet are wet, change your socks. Just change your socks. And loads of talcum powder on it. Talcum powder, by the way, now is a carcinogenic. Carcinogenic.
Probably the army one. The army one will have definitely been.
Well, it would be cheap, that's a fact. Hang on, I've lost my place here. God, I've not chatted like this I haven't chatted like this. That's what I've
Changing
not
your
done.
socks.
Yeah, changing my stock. So anyway, so we ended up having the platoon split, 441 Alpha, 441 Bravo. The guys in Bravo had to rest up, recover, and then hopefully join us at the end. I mean, some of them, fucking hell, man, their feet were full. JMS boots for you. Put an extra pair of socks on. Yeah, roger that. Now they've got all these materials, which are great. But anyway, so passed out and memorable. Getting my beret. Now you see, what do you know about berets?
What do I know about it?
The finest berets ever for Para-Reg and for the guys in 2-2 came from a tailor's shop in Aldershot called Victor's. If you got a Victor's beret, you were on the mark. You were halfway there. But still, cap badge was right down the middle of your eye. I mean, now, well, you've got plenty of room for putting it around the side, haven't you? A la Dijon. Yeah, Victor's berets, which we had to buy, they were a £5 a piece as well. And you know, I've still got 2 of my Victor's berets here. Still got 2 of them. But mate, they were the beginning of my alliness. Get that beret on your head, and you felt good. So all that's fine and dandy, and we get to Bryce Norton. Well, Bryce Norton was not only an eye opener for all of us, but it were also a mouth opener. Because as we got there, the first thing we did was go for dinner. Well, we stood there like in fucking Hilton.
No.
They have this scope every day. You know what I mean? Fucking hell.
That's how the other half live.
Oh, mate. But I did notice, well, they'd got kind of decent blocks. We were in some old, like, Nissan huts with a pot-bellied stove in it. But that was all right for us because we were fairly used to hardship. I mean, fuck me. Brecon, mate, right, Derring Lines used to be horrendous in winter there. Anyway, so, so off to Rise Norton, and so we, our PJI, and I'll give him a name check. I would hope he's alive, but I think probably he might just be resting now. There's a guy called Butch Casey. No nonsense. Knew his stuff inside out and inspired confidence in us. And of course, the motto of #1 Parachute Training School is knowledge dispels fear. And it does, but there's just that little undercurrent underneath it where that knowledge is not dispelling all that fear. That bottom bit, you know, that bit where you think, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Stomach turning. You know this, mate. You know this, I know. So I'm in the, we get in the truck, we go to RAF Western on the Green. And there's a balloon there. And knowledge dispels fear. I looked at that balloon. That could have been a monster. Well, it was a monster. And it just sat there, swaying gently, almost laughing at us. So we were up 800, 4 men jumping. We've got Butch Casey there. So I'm number 2 in the stick. So I'm on the right-hand side of the cage, facing the arse end of the balloon. One guy in front of me, obviously, then 2 after. So the first thing on our way up to 800 feet, like every couple of seconds, I'm looking down thinking, we must be at fucking 800 feet now. And then we go up like another 100 foot, I'm thinking, we must be at Anyway, so I'm gripping side of this box, and trust me, my hands were white. I was going to jump out of it, but I'm kind of scared of what falling out of it. We're all hooked up and everything. So the first thing Butch Casey does, he shows us Oxford's biggest graveyard, where some of you might end up, lads. And I'm like, it's not funny. So then he offered us money if we could tell a joke. Well, I could hardly open my mouth, Chris, my mouth was that dry. Right. Balloon stops. #1, come forward. And I'm there thinking, Can't bluff your way here. There is no bluff. There's nothing. You have two choices. One, absolutely not, and that would be to refuse to jump. And number
Oh, it's game
two,
over, isn't it?
get with the knowledge dispels fear, you'll be all right. So I'm leaning towards number two, but my guts are telling me, oh, fucking hellfire. So the first guy goes out and the balloon rocks, so my hand's even whiter now. Step forward, hands across the reserve, go. And I stepped out. And I remember my breathing was somewhat like this. And then, and I just heard this slapping of material. I looked up and my canopy perfectly developed. Right. So got my hand on the lift webs and I'm thinking, fucking hell. So I'm doing me looking all around, doing all my drills and thinking, fucking hell, that ground's coming up a bit fast on me here. And I attempted to do a side right. A rear right, because the wind was facing me. And I ended up doing the heels, arse, and back of my head. And then whipped of it, did all my drills and that. And I'm just elated. I've just jumped out. Fucking hell, can't wait for another one. And the strange thing to note there as well, I didn't realise until, well, somewhat later, that my dad and the next door neighbour, Cliff, also an ex-serviceman, had decided to drive down in the early hours of the morning, and my dad was parked at one of the emergency gates, and he took. I told him that the night before about it, and that he took a photograph of me. I mean, it's just a guy with a parachute developed above him, but my dad was wonderful. Stuff like that. Just decided. So he like knocked on next door neighbour. He said, John's doing a parachute jump tomorrow. So we have a drive down. And I mean, Sheffield to Aldershot, or Sheffield to Oxford.
Yeah.
It's a fair old lake, but my dad wouldn't be beaten. So yeah, my old man saw it. I never knew about that. Otherwise, I would have probably been, I'd have probably been a little more fearful, knowing that I was being watched.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously then you go on to the aircraft drills and all this, and absolutely, I loved it, but I'd always got the fear inside me. But when you grab hold of that fear becomes extremely powerful for you, you know. So what seems to be against you, actually, you draw that in and think, I need this, because then I'm thinking all my drills, all this sort of thing. So we did a usual thing, and obviously then was awarded the BBC, the Blue Badge of Courage, which actually now BBC's a right oxymoron, ain't it? Full of strange people. But they called it then the Blue Badge of Courage. Oh, mate, could not wait to get them on everything I've got. It was just there, and to sit there and look at them and think, bloody, it's obviously after the 8 jumps. Absolute fucking mega. I'm feeling it. I've got the belly. I've got the wings. I've earned a place where fucking legends came before me and legends came after me. As you know, you saying Brian Budd there. Wow.
Yep.
What a man. So we do the final exercise, which was a bit of a bust. We couldn't parachute into it. High winds. So we just basically got beasted, cold, piss wet through, pissed off, crawling through rivers, obviously out in the beacons, when there's a perfectly serviceable bridge that's been there for about 300 years, and no, we're going to have to cross. Anyway, I'll suss it out. So got my marching orders, and 3rd Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, B Company. I thought that'd sound that, man. Where are they? They've just gone over to Northern Ireland, so I thought, that's good. this is good for me because I'm actually not going to the battalion, just doing the normal, training, this, that, and the other. I'm actually going out, and the skills that I've learned, and I'm going to learn some more, and I can actually do it on the ground. And it was at the time, so you're talking 70, 77, 78 there. Yeah. So I get a rail ticket and end up on my own going up to Stranraer and coming across on a ferry into Belfast. And I met two other guys they were both from C Company. They'd just come out of Colchester. But they actually escaped from Colchester, by the way. The guard commander with a bell. Go figure that. But anyway, decent lads. And it all started off that they robbed a nappy. That was it. It were only machines and that. But anyway, so I come across with them thinking, fucking hell, I wonder if rest of the blokes are like this, coming out of jail and stuff like that. So, well, we got picked up. You haven't got a weapon, anything like that. And we drove straight into the hotbed of Andersonstown, West Belfast, which, as you might know, hugely Republican area. Mate, I loved it. My first section commander was a guy called Graham Pearson, and his 2IC, the Lance Jack. You may have heard of this guy as well. Phil Elvis Priestley. And Elvis took a shine to me. And so, once again, I've got somebody that I can take bits from and see how he does it and everything. And, we had some quite fun times. Really fun times. And I absolutely loved it. I didn't like stagging on in the sangers, and because nobody does. But getting out and about, it were good. And you could have if you know what I mean, a sense of humour. Now, of course, there were allegations, you see. At the time, 40 Commando were in the Turf Lodge. And the rumour was people from my very own battalion were kidnapping people from Turf Lodge, beating them up and dropping them off on the Shankill. I mean, if there's any veracity in that. But it was just great. It was absolutely great. So then we finished the tour there were 4-month tours then, and a 4-month tour was so manageable. It was manageable. Just going back, most of the guys went to, from our split recruit platoon, went to 2 and 3 para. Only one guy went to 1 para. His first tour was in South Armagh. Jack Fisher, they called him. Jack, yeah. He got whacked, I believe, a bicycle packed with explosives. And he took a knee on the side of a building. The bike was there. So I know. But yeah, Jack Fisher, first casualty of a man that I knew had died through enemy action. And only one guy went to 1 para. But obviously, it's a numbers game, isn't it? You've got to keep the numbers up. So we came from Andersonstown, West Belfast, Glassmullen Camp. That's it. Glassmullen Camp. And we're based in Osnabrück in Germany. Well, I've been to Germany as a kid a couple of times, but I'm now living there. And it was a perfect summer. It was just everything about it were cool. And I settled into battalion life. And there's 2 points here. Number one, that I'm really glad that I went to 3 para and got a tour in because she got a gong. So the guys who hadn't got gongs on parades, they were always kind of looked down on. So at least I'd kind of got that. I'd got everything going for it. But yeah, so we're in Osnabrück on the the base called Quebec Barracks, and it was on the back end of you've heard of the Teutoburgerwald, where the legions,
Yeah.
Arminius slaughtered the legions. So when you're not out on the pace, I'd just be walking through them woods. A stunning place. So 5 Platoon B Company at the time there. I had a mate called Dom Gray. Dom's a bit of a legend, but most people don't know much about him, but he's a proper top operator, him. In fact, he was Tim Spicer's PPO in Iraq,
All right. Okay.
Dominic Gray.
Probably come across him then.
You must have done. He was based at Talil.
Right.
The last time I saw him was 1983, and then in 2007, we had to pull in Talil because of a sandstorm doing the convoys. And I walk in the mess hall, and I see all your former firm there, all in the smart flying suits. And I just walked up to this table and went, is this where all the fucking homos are? So I've got, the big lads, some of them lads working for ages were big. They were.
Yeah.
All turned and glared at me, and he turned round and just dropped his fork. He went, fuck me. So from 1983, the last time I saw him, and 2007 we're there, and it was just like we'd never been apart. So, I don't have many stories. So we used to, obviously, as you know, there's a great drinking culture in Paratrooper.
Yeah.
In all regiments, in all services, there's a great drinking tradition. And sometimes it just used to get a bit much rather than going downtown. And there was a bar at the top of the road where the barracks was. And it was called the Hackman Bar. And it was run by a fierce German lady, always dressed traditionally, not in the dirndl, but it's something from 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. And there were no messing about with her, but then we weren't in there to make ourselves look stupid, or to get banned from it, because it was a nice, quiet little place. And oddly enough, the first time we went in, this is me and Dominic, I noticed all these postcards behind the bar, and I thought, bloody hell. And then I thought, Argentina, Chile, Paraguay, Bolivia. And I thought, oh, that's a bit odd, isn't it? Oh, and some from Sri Lanka as well. So me and Dom sat down discussing it. And so he says, she's got to be married to a Nazi. We thought, right. Her husband was called Herman Hackman, and he was a commandant of a concentration camp.
No way.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yes, they all went over to South America, didn't they? They all kind of smuggled across, didn't
and
they?
Sri Lanka as well.
Right. Okay.
I'll tell you about that in a sec. So she approaches us this one. It must be Saturday, I think. And she said, tomorrow you are not welcome in the pub. So I'm kind of a little bit hurt here. So I said, well, I apologise if we've done something wrong. She said, no. She said, it is a private, what did she call it? It's a private function. So me and Don went, yeah, well, that's fair enough. They were doing a little bar just further down the road, where we could go for our little drink and chat and talk bullshit about everything. And so as we're walking back, we've only had like 2 or 3 beers. And as we're walking back, and I said to Dom, I said, what do you make of that? So he says, very odd. So I said, I reckon we ought to put a bit of a covert OP in and just have a look if we can see what's going on. What is this special event? So the following day, we've got the binos, we've got a covert OP. Just behind our gate, there's bushes, but we can see this pub, which was road coming here, Tutor Burgerval going over there. It's straight in front of us, absolutely banging. About midday, big black Mercs and BMWs came out. Big lumps stood outside of the door, all in black. And the driver pulled up, and quite clearly their PPO got out and brought two men from each of these cars that come. They were absolutely dressed to the nines, all in black. And they were members of what's called HIG. They're former SS men. So the postcards and everything all came into it. But Frau Hackman, that's what she said, I am hosting an event every single year on the same day, and I can't remember when it was. You find it obviously on the internet. So the meeting of the SS was still going on in 1978, 1979,
Wow.
1980. So it was only in later years when sometimes I'll sit back and kind of roll through life's events, and this one always comes to me. So I just went on Google. And yeah, Frau Hackman's husband was a monster.
Oh wow, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just that normal kid, and something like this has happened to me. It was just magnificent. I'll tell you about Iranians as well. So we're doing a night jump, and I don't know anybody who likes jumping at night. I do not know anybody that likes jumping at night. You don't even get the ground rush, you just get. Anyway, so we start enplaning, and the the air load master said, right, he said, we've got some Iranian trainee dispatchers. Didn't think much of it, thinking, well, not knowing very much about Iranians, anything like that. Quite clearly, though, they were fucking stupid and not listened. So we end up, I'm port stick number 2, and starboard stick number 2, we dispatch exactly the same. Smash, we air steel, and twisted up to the skirts. Lands in a ploughed field that's frozen, and had the great pleasure of hearing my left tib and fib snap together.
Oh,
My foot's facing out one way, right? So I haven't even done my parachute. I am fucking sweating from the pain in this. It's horrendous. So I put my little ESCO light on. And it's like that, isn't it? Like this little beam like that. Probably as good as, them old right angle torches which didn't shine anywhere. The ones that fire service had, they were crap.
Yeah.
So I start, don't I? Medic! Fucking profuse sweat. And I hear the thunder of a man coming in my direction. So, medic. And it's a guy called Oddball. I'm not mentioning his second name, but he's gospel truth. An absolute great soldier. But he would have he could have been in a handmade Versace suit and still look like a bag of fucking spuds. But anyway, somebody's come to save me. So he gets down with me. We've got these pathetic little torches. And first thing he says, have you got any fags? So I said, yeah. He went, well, we ought to have one, didn't we? So we fucking sat there, sparked up. He says, right, he said, I'm going to leave you a jar. He says, I'm going to jog on now. He dumped his bag and he dumped his shoe, everything with me. And he shot off to try and find a medic, you see. Royal Army Medical Corps. So that were great. So I then hear this lumbering giant coming towards me, and another set of footsteps which were more like this. He's got the medic by the scruff of his neck, brings him to me, talk about treatment of prisoners, throws him down. He went, "Sort him out now." So the guy says, "Right, okay, yeah, okay, I've just got this." So I said, "Look," I said, "I mean, when I were in fucking agony, and I've got my foot at a right angle from me." He says, "I've got no painkilling meds or anything." He said, "I've just got bandages." He says, "But what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to straighten the broke bit because quite clearly it is broken." He said, "I'll just get it in. It's going to hurt." And at this moment, Oddball says, "If you hurt him, I'm going to knock you out." I'm sweating like this and thinking, no, 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 no. So the guy said, "Right," he says, "we'll do a 3 count." He went 1, 2, and as he started applying pressure, I fucking squealed. And then I heard the crashing blow of a right hand. So I've now got a slightly disorientated, nearly knocked out fucking medic, an Oddball, stood above him saying, "I fucking told you." Anyway, so medic then runs off, get the van, I get in there, and they put me, it was strange this, because I'd never seen one before, I'd never seen one since, an inflatable splint on. And also, they gave me a shot of sister morphine. So really, I was all right. But that crepitus feeling, bone on bone, wow, not good. Anyway, so they operated on me in Rinteln, Germany, North Rhine-Westphalia. And so I got a broken leg, so I thought, that's probably it for me, isn't it? And in them days, Chris, physiotherapists, I mean now, physiotherapists, every time you walk out, you trip over 3 physiotherapists. Everybody said, they weren't that. What I was told by our medics, get yourself out, walking, running and tabbing. And that's exactly what I did. So with no physio, nothing, I managed to get myself back into shape, into fighting fit. I had to have pins and plates in there, and I've got arthritis in me ankles now, but so what? I'm like, I've seen 70 summers come and go. So, yeah, get myself up. So we were in Osnabrück, and obviously prostitution there was perfectly legitimate. And there was a brothel right near the Bahnhof, the railway station. And there'd been a problem with someone who was christened the Osnabrück Strangler. I've never told people this tale before, I'm telling you now. And so like, well, just like, it must be some German, must be some civvy and that. So I'm still on crutches, still got a pot on my leg. So I'm kind of jumping back over years here. And there was me from B Company. There was me and the company clerk who were on rear party duties. Well, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything because I'm on crutches. I'm useless. Bit of Italian runner. I can't fucking run. And so anyway, so it was a nice, easy time. So me and the company clerk go for a couple of beers. So we sat there and a couple of beers turned to 3 beers, turned to 4 beers. And I can feel it now. I'm thinking, I've got to go on crutches back down. It was only about like half a kilometre back to camp, but I've got beer in me. So we sat there and this guy says to me, "What do you think about the Osnabrück Strangler?" So I went, "No, I don't really know." I said, "Fucking could be anybody." And he said to me, "It's me." 2 words, 2 letters. I was sober as a fucking judge. And I thought, you've just told me. I didn't actually, at that moment, believe it. I thought he was just messing. And I said to him, I says, fuck off. He says, no, it's me. So then my brain is fucking absolutely swirling on spin cycle. You've been trying to murder women, and the only person who knows it's you is me. That, to me, sets me right up for I'm the only witness to this. So, fucking hellfire. So I made sure that at the end of play each day, my fucking door were firmly locked. I had a pick helmet side of my bed and a knife and everything. And battalion came back from rear party and he got captured in the Eros Centre trying to strangle a prostitute with a towel.
No way.
Yeah.
That's mental, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a nonsense bit of a story, but fucking hell, twists and turns in life. So, so life continued. I'm back out and that, do my drilling duties, go and do my junior Brecon, which I really enjoyed. RDS at the time was a Devon and Dorset. A good blow, but quite clearly had a problem with Paratrooper. Fucking hell. What falls from the sky? Bird shit and parrot. Oh, you know, all the fucking old fucking tropes. Nylon danglers. And given, by the way, with a Devon and Dorset's accent, he just sounded so ridiculous. But anyway, I got him on side because I realised that whilst we were out, and his instructional abilities were top notch. Really, they were very, very good, a good soldier. And I realised he'd got a crap-hat combat jacket and he'd got the socks from a pair of our socks stitched on the end, kind of to look like a parasmoke. So I thought, right, it just so happened that I'd got a Buckshee parasmoke. So in a quiet moment, I asked him if I could have a word with him and presented him with that. He could not do enough for us. There were none of this fucking paras and bird shit. There were none of that. I converted that man to what he should have been by giving him a fucking parasmot. Obviously, I took the wings off it because he weren't deserving on them. Yeah, so did my junior Brecon, did well on it, really enjoyed it. The amount of knowledge, you know, it was just, for me, it was great. I did the long range reconnaissance patrol course in a place called Weingarten, which is down towards Munich. Brilliant course, absolutely brilliant. There was the Brits, the Yanks, Portuguese, Dutch, German, and I don't think, there's some Italians as well. Yeah, so did the LERPS course. That was great. We did a week foreign weapons training. So not only have we got our own weapons, so obviously the Yanks have got the M16, we've got the self-loading rifle. Christy were just ammunition almost piled up to the sky. Yeah, just get it off, just let it off. It was fucking brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Got to ride on top of a T-72 to a place called Grappenberg. After the 6-day war, the Israelis had a great relationship with America and kept supplying them with whatever latest Russian tanks they captured, APC, stuff like that. But again, magical, absolutely fucking magical. And it was run by a lieutenant colonel from the SAS called Mooney Walters, who came up with the idea of dropping guys out the back of a Herc at height in hang gliders. And I think this was kind of just around the time when they discovered Halo, and then obviously Hey Ho, that sort of thing. But yeah, Mooney Walters, and he were one of them. He'd been there. There were nothing. You couldn't say anything to impress that man, and he was such a fucking miserable old goat as well. Yeah, never got a smile on his face. Anyway, so Paratrooper. So we come into the 80s and all that, and I've done my skill at arms course, and Warminster were a lick because everybody in the small arms school corps has a computer chip. I would think bath time for their children would be horrendous, you know, because it would be delivered as a set of orders with proper Brecon points. Anyway, got that done. There was a couple of foreign students on it. One guy was from the Barbadian Defence Force. Lovely man, great bloke, decent-ish soldier. But his weapon handling came up because he watched how we operated the rifles. And the other one, and this is so long ago and I've remembered his name. His name was Corporal Jossam Nyling of the Malawi Simba Battalion. They're so called nowadays. T1, Tier 1. Mate. He turned up in a World War II steel helmet, a combat jacket that was at least 3 sizes too big, and a pair of stack-heeled shoes, not military shoe. So we're doing the 84mm, aren't we? And he's my number 2, I'm his number 2. We're the pair for this, and I'm thinking, so he's on the gun anyway. So I load up everything, grab him, and I wait for that kick in the face from the 84, from the Charlie G. We were firing TPT rounds and TP, and he hit the ground about 12 feet in front of us.
Fuck.
I guess if it had been Hesh, it might have fucking detonated. But anyway, so So yeah, that was the only foreigner on the course, and that's only a small aside for something. But it was just shit. It was just fucking shit. Anyway, so from there, coming to the 80s, 82. So we're seeing about these Argentinian scrap men, supposed scrap men, was it Glitviken, weren't it? They were supposed to be dismantling a whaling station. It weren't. It were the part of the beginning of the invasion there. And we thought, well, long way away from us. Didn't even know where it were, Chris. Most of us thought it was somewhere above Scotland. Never heard of it.
That was the common misconception, wasn't it, back then, that the Falklands was Scotland, like Shetland around there.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was only when we were approaching the equator it kind of did the penny drop that, in actual fact, we were going in totally opposite directions to Scotland. So we get on the Canberra in Southampton. Oh, and I'll take 2 steps back. So you can hear the murmurings of war, and you see it now, and plans are enacted and everything. And so we're just coming up to a weekend. We've got this weekend off. When all of a sudden, we got this, everybody who's here's confined to barracks. And I thought immediately, fuck that. So me and a guy called Pete Go Sarvey, another super guy, lad from Gorton, good soldier. We did one as the Salisbury plane. He went one way. I think he went to Hungerford. I went to a pub. There was a phone box outside this pub called the Royal Oak in Tidworth. We were at Tidworth at the time. We deployed from Tidworth. And I rang my dad up. So I says, Dad, can you give me a lift? So he says, yeah, no problem. He says, I'll be about 10 minutes, come down, pick me up at the station. I went, no, Dad. I said, I'm in Tidworth. The slight pause, and he went, right, tell me exactly where you are. So I said, there's a pub called the Royal Oak. There's a huge oak tree. I said, there's military police driving up and down the road, like trying to kettle guys in. And I said, I'd just got a new girlfriend at the time. I think we just got engaged, some bullshit like that. And so I was behind this oak tree, out of sight of everything. And some hours later, my dad's car pulled up. That same next door neighbour who watched my first parachute descent got out, got a blanket in his hands, and he just grabbed me, threw me on the seat, threw a blanket, and that was it. We were off. And I got a weekend. It was only when it came on BBC that my dad said, I think really you need to go back now, son. So I'd at least managed to get that possibly last weekend out the way, as it were. So yeah, we packed our shit up, got down to Southampton and that on this great big ship, they call it the White Whale, don't they? The Canberra. They got it all squared away. I have never been, when we set foot in the Falklands, on the Falklands, we were at the peak of physical fitness. The fitness routines we got were absolutely superb. In fact, on the day that we crossed the equator, somebody had a great idea that it would be a great idea for three para to run either half or a full marathon on the promenade deck. So fuck knows how many laps it were. So I thought, we're just crossing the equator. So you've either got 20 odd miles to do, or is it 13 for the half marathon, whatever it is.
13, yeah.
So I then says to somebody, I says, so if you don't want to do either of them, what do we do? They went, down in the galley, you'll be scrubbing Dixies. So I and quite a few other people did the half marathon. I mean the real battalion fitties did the full marathon. But it quite a unique experience crossing over there. So we pull in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Mate, wildly exotic. Sights, smells, noises, just incredible. Bumboats, guys buying monkeys, snake skins. All they wanted were plastic containers, plastic sheets, stuff like that. These people. So sometime in, I think it was 79, we had a young fella join us called Shuggy, black kid, with a strong Glaswegian accent. And he told this tale that his father had ruled the country and had been in a coup. He'd been hung. He'd been spirited out of the country with a Scottish mercenary. And everybody went, yeah, of course. So we pull into Freetown, Sierra Leone. You get all that bullshit over the tannoy. Do you hear there? Do you hear there? No one will be setting foot off this vessel. So we thought, well, that was it. And then about 2 minutes later, Lance Corporal Lansana to the gangplank. So we're all like meerkats. What the fuck? 3-vehicle move comes down right in front of us. We're fueling up with the heavy fuel here. Comes down here. And I seem to think that the guys had a look of being Koreans. There were only, in a 3-vehicle move, I think there were only 4 black guys. But the rest had a slightly, look to them. And a incredibly dressed African lady. Collars all over this great big kind of turban on and everything. And Shuggy Lansana walked off the gangplank and warmly embraced and kissed his mum. Because the story he told was true. His father was Brigadier David Lansana, who ran Sierra Leone until a coup. And so Mama Lansana. And the first thing I did, I waited until he got back. And I said, mate, I am sorry about this. Because I didn't believe you. No one believed you. He went, I just don't press a point. Fucking what? So, yeah, so we keep going further south. We got to Ascension. That was all right. It's just a rock. There's a mountain in the centre and bit of jungle on it, that sort of thing. So we did all test firing of the weapons, that sort of thing, mortar concentration, anti-tanks were out with a wombat. That fucking thing, mate. That's like a train hitting something, that. Weapon of Magnesium Battalion anti-tank. And our anti-tanks were top flight. They really were. Really were. They were, yeah. Anyway, we'd also just got Milan there at the time, which was lucky because the Wombat obviously couldn't be man-dragged all that way. So they had to, and it hurt him, but at least he got the Milan there. So we did that, like weapons concentration, everything were fucking checked, everything were working as should be. Get back on the Canberra and start heading further south, and then the weather, that turned nasty. The sea was this horrific shades of black and grey, grey skies, fucking bow waves coming over. And these guys saying, right, I reckon we could jump right off the top and land on the bow of the ship. Because as you jump off, if the ship's coming up, you've only got, and I'm thinking, you're all fucking mad. You're all mad. I did discover something as well. There was a 2-can rule on the way down. So 2 cans of beer per man, that were it. Right, so everybody's 2-canning. I mean, come on, 2 cans, 2 little subby cans. Swan Lager, I think it was. Don't the Aussies call it piss? So I thought, I'll chance my arm here. So I went up to the barman, who was a civvy. Went up to the barman, and I got my 2 cans. And I said, and what about cider? So he says, well, there's no 2-can rule for that. So I went, oh, can I have 12 cans of cider then as well? So as I come back with all my treasure, everybody else warmed up to the bar. And obviously, everybody got really stinking drunk, which weren't good because that ship. We hit a whale on the way down. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. So everybody's laid. I mean, I will say this: the Marines got the better part of the deal from where they were positioned. We were kind of down in the bowels. We were like D-deck aft, where you're like 2 foot above the waterline, 3 foot above the waterline, you know. And so, yeah, we were. I can't remember if either 4 or 6 guys to a room. It was a bit tight, but it was all right. You know, your mates, your brothers, and. So we're steaming down, and then all of a sudden, fucking ship lurches, and it's a big old fucking unit, that ship. And everybody's thinking, "Fuck me, we've been hit. Is it a mine? What's this? What's that?" And there were no problem. And a day or so later, they came over the tannoy and said, "Right, it appears it was an amorous male whale, thinking the camera was a female." He thought he was going to get his dick wet, and unfortunately, he found the props of a large fucking cruise liner. So,
Oh dear.
So yeah, so we got down there. We got on the Intrepid first, cross deck onto the Intrepid, and on my junior Brecken, I believe, was the first Special Forces guy to go through junior Brecken. Former Green Jacket, a guy called Paddy Armstrong, and God rest his soul. Fucking lovely man. Me and him became firm friends on junior Brecken. brilliant guy. And he was one of the guys that were being airlifted off the Fortuna Glacier. And so I'm not even sure the veracity of this. They took a large bird into the air intake, so I'd heard, and bellied down in the South Atlantic. And I don't know how many survivors, but Paddy weren't one of them. So I've already got a stone in my stomach about this. So anyway, so we're on the Intrepid. We've not got flash HUDs or anything. And then the Macklows are complaining that the flash HUDs and the flash gloves have gone missing. Members of 3 Para. Fucking like this. Hey, you got to make do. We are the borrowers, don't forget.
Yeah.
What the Yanks call us, we are the borrowers. And so fairly calm seas. So we get on the landing craft. It's a fucking skip. It is simply a skip. And so we're heading towards, you can see the island perfectly clear. It was cold. There was a wind, but it wasn't a bad wind. You know, it wasn't one that going to rob you of your temperature. And we saw the lads from, I believe it might have been G Squadron. I'm not too sure now. There was an Argentinian observation post on a promontory called Fanning Head. Oh, fucking hell, they got a leather in. Probably 6 jimpies opened up, and they were giving it plenty. And we knew. So we ended up feeling the ground underneath. And so the front comes down, and we're into the freezing South Atlantic, and mate, carrying some fucking abnormal weights. So you've got double augies, you've got a belt of, I can't remember if it 250s, something like that. Yeah, 500 rounds. You were towing it, and we're in up to his waist. I'd never felt as cold in my life. I've never felt cold like that, immediate cold on my lower body. And then I noticed, just crouched in the peat bog where because the peat comes right up to the beach. There was a bloke there, and it was a bloke from the Special Boat Squadron. He just got up and went, "It's fucking cold, that, isn't it, lads? Anyway, I'll see you later," and then just wandered off. Never saw the man again. So yeah, it's kind of when things started, getting our shit together, and then obviously the Argentinians came, and the Canberra, man, the great white whale. How they didn't destroy that ship, I don't know, because they were brave men, Chris. They were brave men. However, they may have been brave men, but they weren't half as good as our Harrier pilots. Honestly, those Harrier pilots. I saw a Harrier hit, I believe it was a Skyhawk, directly in front of me. And not just me, obviously there were loads of us there, right? And he gave him the cannon, and the Skyhawk just went like that. And the Harrier did a loop and kind of went into a hover and went like that with his wings and then flew off. And we're all like that, you fucking wanker. Because you're going back now for tea and stickies, aren't you? Cup of hot chocolate, perhaps some putty run and everything. But absolutely amazing. And kind of from there, we had a couple of days down there consolidating everything. The air defences, and this is no discredit to the guys who were operating the systems, but the rapier and the blowpipe, fucking useless. I saw 2 blowpipe do what Lance Corporal Jossam Niling did. It's about 15 feet in front. And the good thing about that was, because the ground was that soft and wet, didn't detonate. So it buried itself in. I often wonder if they were ever exhumed, but all gone. So, yeah, they were next to useless. Argentinian pilots, I tell you, mate, they're proper gauchos. They were, but There weren't a patch on the Harrier guys. There weren't a patch on them. So then we were in full-scale ammunition, but light order. We dumped our Bergens. The Bergens will be brought up later, which turned out to be a bit of a bust. And so we started that march. Get 4 seasons in one day. The tussock grass, guys called them baby's heads. You cannot walk on tussock grass. And the number of guys that fell out due to injuries, lower limb injuries. And we kept going and we kept going and we kept going. We came to, not Mount Stances, Teal Inlet. Came to Teal Inlet. And I believe that the guys in the Army Catering Corps got us an hot meal on an hot scoff. One of the bravest men, by the way, in 3 Para, was a cook. I'd call him a chef. And his first name is Tommy. He went up and down that mountain all night, collecting casualties. And when you consider that he could have turned around and said, look, I'm just a cook. But he didn't. And he ended up doing P Company, getting his wings and being a proper airborne chef.
Oh, mega.
Lovely bloke. And then the first time I met him, I think he'd be probably only be about 18 in Germany. And you could see there was something about him. But he just a little red-headed fella, thin as a whip and everything, but ended up being a proper paratrooper and one of the bravest men that I could think of. So you know, we walked and walked and walked and walked, and guys from D Company shot a wild bull, so spread the beef out over the battalion group, that sort of thing, which were good, a bit of fresh scoffiness, because obviously we were eating rations. And then when we kind of got into Argentinian positions, we were eating their food as well and putting their boots on as well. The kit was far superior. Our boots were falling apart, Chris, because I believe they were made of compressed cardboard. So first thing, the stitching went rotten, but it was hard work. It was fucking hard work. Shit. I can still kind of feel it in my legs. That having to be right careful, and you obviously, because you kind of you're doing a semi-patrol where it's life or death now. So you're still trying to look arcs and everything, observation, looking in the sky, looking at the skyline, all this sort of thing, but still having to be very careful, because a broken leg at that point, you could quite easily die of exposure. I mean, brutally cold. And so, I mean, there's been a lot better guys than me talk about the Falklands experience. So
What was your first kind of engagement?
I'm glad you've just jumped in there, because I was getting a bit.
Yeah,
I've not spoken about this.
No, it's fine. It's sometimes some people it comes easy to, some people it doesn't. It's just one of those things. But when was the first sort of engagement that you encountered? Because, you know, obviously you'd been in Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland in the 70s was quite tasty. You'll admit that. But when was your first proper taste of combat in the Falklands, when you kind of knew, shit, this is real now? This is obviously you'd seen the Harriers coming in, you knew it was real.
Yeah.
But when you've encountered ground troops,
it was the silent attack going up to in the foothills of Longdon. There was one moment where there was a dull explosion, and it was one of our guys stepping on a anti-personnel mine, which I think removed his foot, and the whole mountain opened up, Chris. Now, I've only ever seen one photograph of it, and it was taken by one of the lads. And apologies, because I can't remember his name. The whole mountain just erupted in fire, and it fucking like a hailstorm, a trace of hailstorm. Man,
Did you have your own section then as well, John? Yeah.
no, it was motor teams. It was on motor
Oh, you
teams,
was
number
motor team.
2 on the motor. What was the number 1? Number 2, I think. We ended up putting the mortar rounds down, and there probably wasn't more than that much of the barrel. You know the leather cap that goes on it? Well, that's as much muzzle as you got out, and then you've got to dig them out again and start all over again. Guys broke their legs having to stand on the base plate because the base plates were bouncing, and then eventually they became subsurface. Radio message coming over. Right, fucking 8 rounds fire for effect, or Dolly makes 8 rounds fire for effect. And then one of the MSCs said, "We need it now. Guys are dying up here." And fucking hell, man. Yeah. Could hear men shouting. Could hear men screaming. You could hear boys calling for the mothers. Yeah.
I think a lot of people have talked about the radio message. They've talked about the darkness, and like you said, the suddenly being lit up, but also that the airiness of the people, the injured on both sides. I suspect,
Yep.
you know, of people
Well-
screaming and everything else, which has got to be very haunting, like for anyone, isn't it?
And I know that not everyone who was there would have the same opinion as me, but I hold no hatred for the Argentinians. None whatsoever, Chris, because there was a John Hunter Argentinian there who didn't particularly want to be there. So I harbour no hatred for him. Obviously, at the time, there was somewhat, but now I look back and I think they were just blokes like us, just being told to do your job, and that was it. And obviously, it was the people who should have known better that never actually set foot in the lion's den, do they? Your politicians, exactly the same now. And just on a different note, fucking in Australia, what the fuck? A VC winner. What?
The thing is I've said this a lot, and like you've obviously I've worked with SF guys as the same as you would have done on operations. I've worked with them in private security industry. I've come across them I've got my best friends ex-SF. And obviously like Power Edge and Royal Marines and the rest of the British Army. We are a very, very professional outfit. So are the Australians, so are the Americans. So I find it a little bit hard to get my head around when I hear of these stories of war crimes and stuff like that, because I know how professional we are. And I know every single soldier I've met, you were no different, John. None of us want to kill another human being. Correct?
Yep, absolutely.
No one wants to take a
don't
life.
set out with the intention, but when it
If
comes
it's there,
to the metal meeting to me, that's the job. Yes.
If it's them versus us, then unfortunately someone's got to give, and we're disciplined and we're trained, and that's what we'll do, and at a high level as well. But if we don't have to, and we were given the chance not to kill some, we wouldn't. So I find it very hard to believe that a professional soldier like Ben, is it Robert Smith? Ben Robert Smith, I think his name is.
Yep.
I think that's his name. They would then kill 5 unarmed innocent civilians. It's the same as our special forces being investigated for stuff like that. I don't understand it. I cannot get my head around it. And the people that are judging these people have never ever been in them circumstances as well,
Walk
which
the
is
mile
very,
in a
very
man's shoes. In that place, you're not even fit enough to put your feet in that man's shoes. What
Exactly.
has always got me about this whole this whole shit show, we're fighting by a set of rules against enemies that have no rules. That's not fair. That's like you boxing with your hands tied behind your back.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. But then to put men in court. I mean, some of these guys now, the British guys, come on, they're my age and fucking older. They're my age and older. The IRA, as is, had no rule book. There were no rule book. There were no yellow card. There were no warning given. There were nothing. Yet we were supposed to do it. And this Australian hero, one of the things, why didn't he grab hold of a guy who was strapped with a suicide vest? Well, I can tell you that. Because you're going to get blown to fucking smithereens, so you're better off putting some wasps in him and taking cover. It's absolute fucking bullshit. It's absolutely so immoral. The world has turned upside down. Where wrong is right, right is wrong. The innocent are guilty until proven guilty, and the guilty are let off with everything. I'm just not getting it. I'm just not getting it. Anyway, so Falklands over and done with. Yeah, we got on the Norland. Oh, I best tell you this. We were in shit state when we came off the mountains, right? We're in shit state. We come past Moody Brook Barracks, picking up bits and pieces. I got a pair of Argentinian wings. There's a Sangha, right? So I'm think not in a good place. You know, this is a huge impact. I noticed a tripwire. So you got the Sangha, you got to bend down to get in it, and the tripwire goes like this. And it was an Argentinian grenade, which it had got a 3 position on it. You put a 2p piece in it or something like that. And it was either instantaneous as a booby trap. Then there was 2 time delays, I think. And so I'd seen this, but right in front of me were a pair of Argentinian wings. So I'm like, really crafty and everything. I'm no EOD man, I'm just fucking handshake. And I saw that, right, the tripwire was onto the top of the can. They drilled a hole in the top of the can so that when you tripped it, it'd turn upside down, grenade would detonate. And I'm thinking, I'm having them fucking Argentinian wings no matter what. So I stepped over the fucking tripwire, got the wings, stepped out, feeling really good about myself, then thinking, that was fucking stupid. That really was fucking stupid. Because if I'd have put a booby trap in, I would have also doubled down on it somewhat, made it a little more spicy. So we get into Stanley. Fucking hell, mate. Bit like Birmingham. Now, fucking rubbish all over the place. They're fucking Argentinians. They quite clearly did not know, or they didn't get punished with show clean for not fucking doing an area sweep, an area clean. Anyway, so we got in, and we're in shit state, Chris. Fucking people's teeth are falling out. We are malnourished, and we've all got what I believe to be some kind of dysentery type thing. So we get given a bungalow right on the seafront. There's a Falkland Sound runs up. I saw a pot of killer whales in there as well, which I found absolutely charming. I saw them the once, but it's a killer whale. So we get this bungalow, and so we're trying to organise ourselves, and we're hungry, and obviously we want to drink. So we sent out various lightly armed patrols. So couple of frag, rifle, couple of mags. So as we got, See, Stanley's not big, or when we were there, it weren't big. And I saw walking along the seafront Prince Andrew. Now, you'll have heard of him, man that doesn't sweat.
Yeah.
So he's walking, he's got a monkey on his right and he's got a monkey on his left. And he's walking, he's got a self-loading rifle in the crook like it's one of his Holland and Holland side-by-sides. So I think there were 3 of us on this fighting patrol, as it were, empty Bergen, obviously to put the stuff in. And one of these monkeys turned around and started fucking giving it proper big licks. Don't you fucking dare look over here. And then he noticed that there were 3 self-loading rifles that were pointing directly at him. And one unified voice said, if you don't fuck off, we'll kill you now. And off they fucking trotted. Prince Andrew. Yeah. Anyway. We couldn't go in the bars. I think the pub was called the Upland Goose, something like that, because it was full of press, weren't it? I'll tell you one funny thing. On the Intrepid, there was a briefing. It was Max Hastings who said to the guy in charge, now, whoever was leading the Special Air Service there, was it Michael Rose? I'm unsure. But at this fucking briefing that we were privy to, fucking cunty bollocks from the Telegraph steps up and says, right, chaps, what's happening? And the SAS guy just turned around and he says, planning something nasty, now fuck off. Max Hastings. Anyway, so eventually we get stuff squared away. Obviously, we have the church parade and everything, which all kind of passed as a bit of a dream to me. Just going back to the bungalow, right? As I told you, we're having real difficulty through the eye of a needle, as it were. And so the 3 of us squatting around this rather large pit that the engineers had dug for us. And a Bellevue Iroquois landed just over the fence from us, right? And so whilst we are losing everything from the bottom end, this Argentinian's trying to do a nice formal surrender. Helmet, he's got his flight logs, he's got everything. He was bang right with it. Took his pistol out, ballista Molly 45 ACP. He'd racked it, it was clear, magazine down, everything like that. And we were feeling so bad, so ill. Just went, head towards the fucking church, mate. Fucking, we can't take you surrender here. So we ended up just having to walk off. So obviously the stuff that he'd given us, oddly enough, the pistols seemed to disappear, and I don't know why. They kind of vanished in a puff of smoke. Strange, bit true. Yeah, maps and all that sort of thing. So we passed that on, obviously, to our intel. Anyway, so, I don't know. Been there 2-3 days. I can't remember passenger time. So we then got on the Knoll End where we met up with 2 Para, which was fairly joyous, even though we ended up having a fight with 2 Para in the bar, which I still now just can't get it, but just guys trying to let off steam. I mean, there were a lot of guys there really, really damaged psychologically. So from there to Ascension, where we got on a plane, I think it was a VC-10, and I think I got a bottle of vodka. When we arrived under cover of dark into Bryce Norton, and I always felt like they brought us back like some dirty secret.
Cheated you out of a bit of a welcome home, didn't they, really?
Well, yeah, because, you know, I saw the Marines come back, and it's not their fault. You just got to remember the Admiralty runs everything. But I just thought we'd been brought back here like some dirty secret, and we're fucking certainly not. Because fucking bravery on them mountains from everybody. Scots Guards, but especially 3 Para, because still, damn, fucking 3 Para's in my fucking DNA now. So yeah, we got back, and that was an extremely odd time because we've gone from that within the space of a day being back on the streets with people who, apart from friends and family, nobody really fucking bothered a fucking ass about what we'd done or anything. And it was only as we come into the 2000s when I realised just how impactful on young men joining up was the campaign, and Mount Longdon in particular, obviously for the Para Edge. So get back down to Tidworth and we start now. We lost a lot of the NCOs, didn't we? And I'm not criticising the guys, but we were like doing basic section attacks and stuff. And someone who hadn't had that same experience was telling us we were doing it wrong until somebody briefed them up and said, well, it fucking worked in the Falklands. You weren't there, so we'll do what worked for us. And I just thought to myself there, it was like I'd had me final gasp, and I thought, I'm fucking over this. I'm fucking over this. I need out. But I'd met a girl and engaged and all this, and I thought that were going to be it, and walk up into the sunset. It didn't work out that way, but however, that's that. So I became a civic again. You had to report with your stuff. I think it was once a year, and I once managed to wangle doing it 3 times a year because you got a cash bonus. You just go, you get your kit out like. Well, all the alley kit I'd given to the lads in the battalion. So I'd just got like fucking Billy Basic stuff that you get out of depot. Just go parade that. And 3 times. I went to Kingston on Hull twice and Sheffield once. All in the same year, which we were all right. So I started working on building sites, doing scaffolding, no quals to do it. EDI, explanation, demonstration, imitation. I watched scaffolders. I talked to scaffolders. So all of a sudden I was quite competent in putting the scaffolding up. And this was before health and safety became a Nazi regime. So I'm carrying to 2 bricklayers. It's the 80s and I'm earning really good money. I'm earning really good money. I couldn't believe it, but we're grafting hard, so like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Like I'm there, but I'm earning all right. And he started wearing me down because, you see, you earn good up through spring, summer, that sort of thing, bit into autumn. But when winter comes, the building trade always falls off. So unless you'd put some money by, and it was the 80s, so I wanted to have the latest this, that, and the other, stupidly. So I thought, I've got to do something else. And I saw an advert in the Sheffield Star about the fire service. So I thought, well, I may as well. So I made the inquiries, everything. And I heard nothing at all for about a year. And then I got a letter asking me to turn up for a physical assessment in the fire station in the town centre on between West Street and Division Street. Anyway, so I went up there. Now, at that time, when I came out, I'd started this in the gym heavily, and I started doing a bit of door work and that sort of thing, to get as much money as I could. So a fairly big lad, I think if I ever was about 17 stone. I'm only 5'8" tall. I was built. And so I turn up for this this so-called physical. Well, I'm 17 stone. There were just another 2 blokes on there. One was about 15 stone. Other one were about 10 stone wet through. And all we had to do were like fireman's carry, right? And it were once round the I can't even remember the terminology. That place where you do all your hose work and bullshit.
The drill square or the fire out.
Drill square, yeah. It won revolution round there. Well, I ran because I thought that's what you do. You got a casualty. You need to get him away, don't you? So that were done, past that. And then I heard nothing. So I'm back on the odd, doing bits and pieces, doing more kind of door work and stuff like that, bit of debt collecting. Which I didn't like. I once went to get a debt off a guy. The guy opened the door. He said, "Come in." He says, "Have you come to kill me?" So I said, "No, son." I didn't call him son. I said, "No." So he says, "Well, I wish you would." He says, "But have a look round." And the debt weren't a lot of money either. And he just said, "It'd be far better if you did kill me, because I don't have a life. I ain't got anything. I borrowed money from dangerous people, and I thought, right, I can't do this because I have got a heart. I have got a soul." And the guy was in the cups of his life. So anyway, so go back carrying the odd and that. Stopped debt collecting. Worked on doors. And I get another letter. Hallelujah. Fire service want me. So this would be 89, I think it was. So I rock up on a motorbike. And we sit down. They do it. You get out bollocks. And because I'd already been through the most comprehensive training anywhere in the world at Browning Barracks and through my career with Firefighter, I already know the score. And so these civilians are pretending, because the fire service was supposedly run on Navy rules, that sort of thing.
That's right. Yeah.
So we have this senior officer, and it was something, he said something like, "Some of you may not pass this course." And I'm thinking, what? And he tried to make it as dramatic as possible. And it was there I first noticed a complete wanker in the fire service at the top of the tree. How strange. So we start the training, and it was tough. And in fact, if you look on YouTube, I'll in fact send you the link to this. I was on the first course that had the first female firefighter trying in South Yorkshire. Me and another lad, an ex-Blues and Royals, got taken into the commandant's office and bollocked for helping this girl on her runs. And it's all on video. It was a Channel 4 video when they did it. But we got fucking bollocks. And I went, "I'm sorry, but we come from a world where you go at the pace of the slowest man. And if somebody's struggling, you help them." Fact,
Yeah, 100%.
I didn't want that. And so anyway, yeah, fucking BA, really enjoyed that. So I lived then in Sheffield, and some great idea. There were lots of people who didn't like me, Chris, because I wasn't like them. I were big, and I fucking stood up for myself. I don't take fucking shit. I'm too old for that, and I was too old then to take fucking shit from people. Don't piss up my back, tell me it's raining, and we'll get on fine. But, you know. And so I was sent. You know where miners' strike started? Brampton Beerlow, Colton Woodpit, the fire station. They sent me from Sheffield there, and I'd only got a motorbike. Whereas a bloke from Barnsley got sent to Darnell Fire Station, which for me would have been a breeze to get to. But anyway, it don't matter. So I did various stuff. Just going back to the training centre, my first contact with the Fire Brigade Union. So we've already been told we have to be members of this union. There were no if, no buts. You had to be. That was it. So 3 of them turned up. Sorry, yeah, 3 of them turned up. And one was fucking blind drunk. He could hardly stand. He tried to give a fucking speech, and the other 2 guys just sat him down at the back of the classroom. And I'm thinking here, I've never been in a union in my fucking life. But my first impression, he's turned up here already pissed up, and this is lunchtime. I'm not happy with that. I don't like people. And then when I realised from the words, their actions, they were just fucking same coffee shop revolutionaries. Soy latte fucking keep the red flag flying. A bunch of wankers. And the best thing I did in the fire service was kicking out of the FBU. Took great pleasure in doing that. You do realise that the FBU won't back you up, you know, now that you're not a member. I went, well, you've never backed me up anyway. So what's changed? Nothing. Can't stand them. All grifters. And I remember they took us out on a fucking strike, which I said as well to all the rest of the crew. I said, I don't care what you think about me, but I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing. I am going to stand on a picket line once, and that's all I ever did. Once. I said, the rest of the time, I need to go out and get money because I've got a wife and a child, right? So, and the lads were all right with that. They were not that scab, but if they'd been a scab, I would have taken the appropriate fucking action about it. I'm a free-thinking man, hopefully. So yeah, they had convinced people who were pro-union that we were going to get 40,000. I think when I left the fire service, I was on £21,000 a year, and they were telling us you get 40 grand, 41 grand, something like that. And what really did it for me was we're out on strike, we don't get paid. The union get paid, right? So they get their fucking full whack and all the disbursements. And the wanker in charge of the FBU at the time, I think he was called Gilchrist. He went out for a curry, and the bottles of wine were over 200 quid. I mean, who, fuck's sake, who has fucking wine with curry, for God's sake? But they spent a fortune on the union credit card on a fucking meal. And there we are, earning nothing. So the union, they've dragged you into this, and they're not a penny short. So, anyway. So, yeah, did 19 years, ended up being based down in the east end of the town. So I had some interesting jobs, plenty of house fires, roof collapsed on us, titanium fires, which are pretty spectacular. But one of the greatest ones, there was a big paper recycling place right at the side of a canal. The fire started in the day, and they'd been at it all day, set into the canal, obviously, plenty of water there. And so we come on the night shift, right? So we're there all night, dampening down. There's probably about 2 foot of water all in this yard, right? You're basically wading through paper mache. And in the middle were 4 big bundles of paper, big square bundles. So as the dawn comes, me and another guy just going down, just checking that you know, everything seems to be out. So I said, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit on top of this like a chicken on top of a shit heap. I said, and I'm going to have a fag and watch the world go by. So we sit down, right, on this paper mache, and all of a sudden, Sieg Heil, the health and safety Nazi, were there. Put that out. What? He says, don't you realise that's a fire hazard? I said, mate, you've had about 2 million gallons of water poured on this. This is paper mache. The chance of my cigarette sparking this wet paper mache is nil. Yeah, but the rules, the rules have gone out the window. When everything was dry and you stored cardboard, I said, then yes, sparking a cigarette up could be a risk. I says, but now, I went, go and shake your leg, mate. Just dickhead. And it used to annoy me as well, especially when I drove the appliances. We get bumped outright to a house fire. So you're on your game there, aren't you? Got your beer on this. This occasion I'm driving, right? Why do people, your normal civvies, stand in front of a house that's on fire and it's coming through the roof and then go like that? There.
The pointers. Hey.
So I'd always have my window down and say, is there a fire, mate? And they were like that. And I went, fuck it, I'm glad you pointed that out because we'd never have known. And they never got that I was just taking piss. So, fire service, I've got these fucking shit tons of fucking tales. We went to there's a place called Tinsley, right in the East End. It used to be all steelworks and everything. So we go, and it was a death. So we pull up with. We've got one pump in the aerial ladder platform. So we make entry into the house. My gaffer, ex-York and Lancs guy, solid man. Two policewomen stood either side of the door. It's a terraced house. And they both look grey, they look ashen, they look really not well. And they just said, he's upstairs. Well, 3, 4 of us walk up this really narrow staircase. They are very, very small terraced house. And in the back bedroom, on a hospital bed, was at that time probably the biggest man I've ever seen in my life. Well over 250, probably 300 pounds. You can see by the colour of his skin, and it'd already been assessed that life was extinct with him. But the thing I found so weird was there was a kitten sat on this giant belly licking its arse. And I thought, there's no fucking dignity in death, is there, mate? So we've got to try and get this man who's been in this bedroom for, I don't know, over a decade. And in checking the kitchen, his diet was just baked beans, cheap baked beans. So no wonder he were kind of huge, bad diet and all this business. So we decided the only way we could do it was to take the front window out because we could not get him down the staircase. He just wouldn't fit. Proper square peg in a round hole, or a round peg in a square. It weren't happening. So we're going to remove the front window. We're going to put the ALP into as close to the building as we can. We're going to wrap him in we call them big sheets. I can't remember now. I used to be a fan.
Salvage sheet.
Salvage sheet. Give him a salvage sheet. Bind it up. Lift him gently out. There were already the undertakers there who had to go because the wagon wasn't big enough to take the body in. So we did the very best we could, but one of the policewomen had come upstairs just as we were trying to get this guy off the bed. Now, there were 4 of us, 4 men in that room, and, you know, twisting and that, you only need to do one thing, you put your back up. So she just walked and put her head round the corner as best we could. Now, I'm being totally frank here, as best we could, but he did land on the floor with a bit. He probably got that much to fall. Well, when he did that, some gases escaped. So she turned around and vomited on the stairs and we never saw her again. So we get this guy out, make sure it's all secure and everything. So we get him out, and they've had to send. I think it was a big ambulance. We're going to take him to the coroner's. You know, the coroner's place. Not too far. So we finish the job off, stow everything up, get back to the station, get a brew on, and Gaffer comes upstairs. John Stevenson, they call him. I'll name check him because he's a proper Uber man. Ex-York and Lancs, good soldier. And looked after his men. He loved us more than he loved anything. He were always there standing up for us. Anyway, because as you know, most aren't. They
No.
get on the slippery rungs of the ladder
Nah.
of promotion.
A chip gets inserted.
So he says, right, he says, that were coroner's office. We need to go up to the mortuary. We're like, why? There's surely people there, because we thought probably they couldn't move him and they wanted us again to try and move the body. And so we get to the coroner's and Gaffer goes in. He says, come with me, John. So I'd come in, another two guys in the pump. And we get in there and the body's laid there. Well, we've seen it before, haven't we? Like, so the coroner's looking round, and he's pointing, and he says, this man's got ligature marks round his neck. I said, well, he's fucking, I'm pretty sure he must have fucking had an obesity brought an heart attack and that. And then it struck. The method we had to use to take him out, quite clearly, as we wrapped the line round, it must have also gone round here. So it looked like he'd been strangled. So we had to square that away with the coroner and explain to him. In fact, we went outside, got a salvage sheet off, a fresh salvage sheet, I might add, tied it up and showed him what we'd done with it, and that was all right.
It happens sometimes in them situations. You've got to get casualties that large, and you know they're larger nowadays than they probably were back then because of people's diet and laziness.
That was also the first time I'd ever been corrected. But because obviously we had to make witness statements. That fuck knows what reason. And I said this giant fat man, and I was admonished and said, we called them bariatric. So I said, yeah, but he's fat. That fat is simple. Bariatric, I've never heard this word before, but he's a fat bloke. That was it. And that's all I saw on that bed. I'm trying to think of other. All right. So, yeah. So get another call out. I'm riding BA with a guy, Big Ramsey. Ramsey Elderini. Now lives in Australia. Been there probably about 25 years now. Anyway, beside the point. So there's me and Del and another guy, ex-Royal Engineer called Mark. Solid man in all aspects, solid man. And so we get to this estate, and mate, well alight, don't do it justice. Coming out there, we've got a bedroom in front of us, just 2-story like townhouses, right? But mate, it's coming out of the fucking roof. It's really, really going for it. Well, I grabbed the hose reel. Del's feeding it off. Mark's with me. We make entry. The door was open, but we had to make entry because everything was falling down from above. And the parents said, my little boy's in there, in that room. So I talk about galvanising to action. So, mate, we straight up. So we took the stairs up, like straight in front of us. And just kind of half right was a bedroom door. And it was closed but heavily charred. This was the seat of the fire. So we knelt down. We knelt down. So I got this door, and I thought, this is going to shove because it's just a normal domestic. It's a door, that's all. It's got no lock on it. And I'm trying to push this door, and I've got it open about this much, trying to push. And we haven't got a jet on it. We've got a fine spray up on the roof, trying to dampen it all down and trying to get in. When I've got Del on this side of me and Mark on that side of me. and the whole of the fucking roof came in. And the first thing it struck, and lucky for him, was it struck the back of his helmet. Now, this were the days before them helmets behind you, the old corky ones, like useless,
yeah.
fucking useless. His helmet comes off. So I jumped on him, got him under here. Mark said fucking jumped over the shop like he protecting me. So we eventually make entry into this room. And it was so weird because in front of me, I'm first guy in and the other two guys are right there. And we realised that obviously this child's not let out. So we want to do it as with forensically, the least damage we can do. We just need to knock the flames down and then other agencies can come in. And I kept looking and it looked like a black pyramid in front of me. And this is it's a kid's bedroom. And I realised, so as we dampen it down, we've got steam going out and then we've got sunlight streaming in. So Dell's gone this way, gone to the right to do a fingertip search to find a little boy. Mark's found the little fella behind the door. And the thing straight in front of us, Chris, this pyramid, was an expanded radiator. The heat must have been so intense that before it blew, it actually expanded the metal. I think the fire service have still got that possibly in the fire service museum. We found a little fella. I'll not detail about it. It was extremely unpleasant, and considering that 3 fathers had attempted to save this lad's life. And we walked out of there, and everybody's fucking shouting, and the parents, where's my boy? Where's my boy? Fucking hell. And then my gaffer, as I said, John Stevenson, just came, he just grabbed us, he went, go back over there, sit down, I'm going to come to talk to you, because our heads were fucked, Chris.
Yeah.
Really, I can still see that whole incident. Anyway, so what we didn't know that came out, the kid had got a fascination starting fires.
Yeah.
And he got hold of a lighter and obviously sparked it up, couldn't get out of the room, and then but I feel that we did a good professional job. We preserved the scene and everything. The only one thing we did, there was some bedding on the floor, and I can't remember. And I remember that I don't know who did it. We covered him at least. I don't know why. Yeah. So that was quite a bad one. But
Those sort of jobs are the ones that you always question if you could have done more. And I think that's human nature, isn't it? Because people are in these roles of firefighters and emergency workers and so to help and do good. And you know yourself, like you said there, when you get a person's reported, you kind of go up a level.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone switches on that. The fire engine seems to fly to jobs, doesn't it? Everything.
Yep.
So I've never met a team of firefighters that didn't try their absolute best to rescue someone in a house fire. But sometimes there is nothing you can do, is there?
Yeah. No, not. Went to an RTA, an RTC. I believe RTC, because it wasn't an accident. I think it was the Euros, maybe 2020. Was it the Euros then?
Possibly. I don't follow football that much.
Place called Todrick Crossroads. An SUV with, I believe, 8 guys in it. Driver, blind drunk. I'd come through on red, trying to get them to the pub because it must have been half time so that they could be at the pub drinking more. And they hit a car elderly couple and their son and daughter-in-law, their daughter and son-in-law in the back. One survived but died later. But mate, that like being hit by fucking well, it hadn't been hit by a truck. The SUV was on its side, Chris, on the driver's side, the right-hand side of the vehicle. And there were, it's either 5 or 6 bodies in it. The driver had got out of that vehicle. His mates were dead in that vehicle. The people were dead in the vehicle they'd hit and run off through the fields. Thanks, man. Apparently, we're a big local hard man and everything. To get in that vehicle, I was kneeling in maybe that much blood, 3-inch blood. It was fucking nightmare. And it was then I discovered that not all fire service officers realised that they're fire service officers. So there's just me and the guy I mentioned, Mark, the ex-rail engineer. We worked a lot together, me and him. Good man. We had a senior officer turn up. So he comes and we just come away from the scene because the police were there, accident investigation, all this business, but we'd still got to retrieve the bodies. And so I said, I'm glad you've turned up. I says, because we're only riding through tonight. I says, we've got all these guys in here we've got to get out. We've got to cut these out here. So I says, will you get your fire kit on? So he said, well, I'm not. So I said, why? He said, it's not my job. And I said, well, I'll tell you what you are, mate. And I had respect for this guy. And I said, you're a fucking coward. You're an absolute fucking coward and you forgot where you come from. I said, so I've just asked you to assist 2 guys trying to move 6, 7, 8, 10 bodies, 9 bodies, whatever it was. There were a lot of bodies. And I said, and you've refused it because of your seniority. No, I said, fucking coward. You'll always be a coward. And me and Mark then did what we needed to do. But I found out so many of them didn't have what I thought were good attributes. They were promoted because I knew guys who were promoted because they could play fucking football.
Severe lack of leadership qualities in the fire service, buddy. At senior leadership level.
But you know, Chris, I never wanted to advance when I saw how quite pitiful it was, the road to promotion, the backstabbing and all this. I just wanted to be the bloke that if I went on a detached duty, people would look and say, oh, no, John, he don't mind getting stuck in.
Dependable.
When we got new people on the shift and that, they'd always put them with me because they knew I'd fucking do it and I'd do it the right way. And that's all I ever wanted to be, the best firefighter I could be. And I hopefully was that man. But all this promotion stuff, scumbags, absolute scumbags.
Yeah, there's a lot of it, buddy. And I've had umpteen amount of messages from multiple people in different services around the country telling me their stories of how they've been screwed over by management, how they've been treated by management, and how poor the leadership is. I'm not talking crew manager, watch manager level. I'm talking station manager and above.
Yep.
You know, the guys and girls that you would have worked with at watch level would have been, I'm pretty certain, bar the odd exception, switched on, good at what they do, and you knew you had their back and they had yours. But above that, fucking arseholes, mate.
Absolutely. And I could not disagree with anything you've just said there, nor with what other guests that you've had on have said about the fire service. Wasting money, wasting thousands of pounds on vehicles that don't fucking work. Absolutely ridiculous.
But we had a have you heard of the old you know when they put stuff out to tender and stuff and the council and years ago when you were on, you could fix a light bulb on a fire engine, couldn't you? If a bulb went, you just got a light bulb. We had a guy on the watch that used to do all the tinkering because it went wrong with the truck. Now you can't touch them because of health and safety. They'll get in an agency that will come and change a light bulb on a truck and charge you 300 quid. And you wonder why they've got no money. Fucking absolutely mental, mate. And another reason why I kind of left, mate, as well.
South Yorkshire took a small girl on to start a training. And when I say small girl, I've not seen this girl at all. But she had to have specially made gloves, specially made boots because she was that small. It cost thousands of pounds to have these made. And a couple of days before the course started, she called in and said, yeah, it's not for me. I don't want to do it. Waste of money. An absolute waste of money. You could have spent that. I mean, for me, the fire kit was shit when I joined. We got them wet legs on, right, which melted in heat.
Before my time, yeah.
Cork helmet, fuck, you know. And I guess things go better, and I don't...
I don't know if you're like me. You're like me, John. Is like I'm not bitter about my time in the fire service. I had a cracking 12 years in the fire service. I enjoyed every day. However, I get frustrated because it really, really could be the best job in the world, but it's fucking run into the ground by imbeciles.
Yep. Pen pushers, bean counters, and idiots promoted well above their capability.
100%. All those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get to my 19th year, and what I discovered about the fire service pension was it actually is a prison cell. So guy gets pissed off with it, and if you're going to leave, then your pension stops and all this. And so they keep doing a job a lot of time they don't like doing anymore for the reasons that we've just given.
Yeah.
But the pension holds them back. So I'm thinking to myself, and the scenario you said, station officer and above, there was a promotion board coming in. And so all of a sudden we were being accused of all sorts of fucking shit for them to try and prove that they were better and they got their eyes on the ball and they were right for this promotion. And I thought, I fucking had enough of this. So I started looking round and I'm chatting out. I went out on the circuit with another guy, ex-2 para, but ex-fire service. And we said, what we're going to do? Well, I'm coming up to me like 50th birthday there. Now, most men, when they hit 50, have that male menopause. And they generally do something like buying an MX2 sports car or an Harley Davidson that they're going to fucking pile in somewhere and die. And I thought, fuck that, I'll go and work in Iraq.
At 50, fuck
so
it.
my menopause, I went to work out on the convoys.